My name is Charlie, and the folktale I'm going to be sharing with you guys is called Inviting the Bears. There once was an old man. He lived in Alaska. He had lost all of his friends, all of his family, and he was very, very sad. He was sad because he was all alone. He thought about moving to another village, but he thought that if he moved to another village, the people in another village, the village he moved to, would think that he did something wrong. So instead, he decided to go off into the forest. While he was walking in the forest, he had a thought in his head. He thought that he was going to find grizzly bears, and the grizzly bears would come and eat him. So he walked by the lake, and he found a bear trail. And he thought that he was going to lay on this bear trail, the bears would come, and the bears would kill him. So as he was laying on this bear trail, he heard and he saw the biggest group of grizzly bears he had ever seen. They were so big. And then, as they were walking towards him, he realized that he did not want to be ripped apart in tiny pieces. That's not the way he wanted to die. So he stood up and he said, I've come to invite you to a feast. And the bear was only inches away from his face. So he thought he was going to die right there, but he kept going. And he said, I've come to invite you to a feast. And that I don't care if you kill me, but if you decide to kill me, I'm okay with that. Because I have lost all of my friends, all of my family, and my property. So the big bear turned around and he looked at the other bears, and the old man imagined that the bear was telling them about the invitation to the feast. So the old man quickly walked to his village. Once he got to the village, he began preparing for the feast. He began cleaning and making food. And the other village people were wondering what he was doing, so they came up and asked him. And he said he has invited the grizzly bears to a feast. And they looked at him, and they were frightened. They said, why would you do such a thing? The grizzly bears are our enemy. And the old man just ignored him and continued with his preparation for the feast. So later that day, the old man, he decided to paint himself stripes. He painted his chest stripes, and then he painted his arm stripes, and then he painted his head stripes. So the next morning came, and he looked upon the hills, and he saw the group of grizzly bears coming. He also saw that the other village people were running around, and they were frightened, and they ran into their house. So he invited the grizzly bears into the house for the feast. And the first food item he served was cranberries. He served the cranberries to all the bears. He noticed, though, that none of the bears were eating. It was until the biggest grizzly bears ate the food, then all the other ones would eat. And he kept serving food, and then the feast was about to end when the grizzly bears came over to the old man and started to lick the painting off of his chest, head, and arms. And during this moment, he realized that all of his sorrow and his sadness went away, and that he was feeling a lot better about himself. So the next morning came, and this young man knocked on his door. He looked very puzzled because he had never seen this man before. The young man explained to him who he was, and said that he was the littlest bear that came to the feast last night. The old man still looked puzzled, and he explained to him that he was a human being, and the bears captured him, and he turned into a bear, and they adopted him, and he turned into a bear. And this young man explained to him. He asked the old man if he understood what the big bear was talking about, and he said that he had no idea what the bears were talking about. And the young man said that the bear was talking about that the old man and the big bear were alike, and that they both have lost many friends and family over the years. And this got the old man thinking that the grizzly bears and the village people were not enemies, and that they had a lot of things in common. So now, whenever someone has a feast, whenever someone has a feast, they invite everyone to the feast, even including their enemies, and they become friends, just like the old man did by inviting the bears. The